I'm Paige Piskin and I'm an augmented reality makeup and character artist. I've been designing AR filters across social platforms for the past 3 years. In the last few years, I've generated close to 200 billion impressions on my effects, and they've been shared over 600 million times. It's been an amazing experience for me to become an AR creator. My life is completely transformed. First of all, having friends in the AR community around the entire world has been an amazing thing. I've been able to travel to places, meet up with people that have the same passions. It's just the most wonderful community, and that's the biggest thing in my heart, is being able to connect in that space. And second to that, I've been able to build a sustainable and amazing career that is constantly evolving as the industry shifts. So it's been an amazing thing just to be involved in AR in general. It's been awesome to see how it's merged in a bit with virtual reality to create these mixed reality kind of experiences. So in this space right now, it's the perfect time to get started because it's still early. There's so much potential here. There are so many brands looking to get involved in AR effects. There are so many different just people out there that have their own style that needs to be shared in this format. So if you're a digital artist, if you draw characters, if you like drawing makeup looks, if you're a makeup artist, if you're a sculptor, a painter, or anything out there, there's a place for you in the augmented reality space. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the software that I use to create my effects and how I got started. So about 3 years ago, when I first started making effects, I had experience as a graphic designer. So I already was working with Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, but I had never worked with 3D objects in a 3D space before. So I had to learn a little bit about how to create 2D assets that work in a 3D world. So if you were getting started and you don't know 3D or you don't know 2D, there are many ways for you to start. I've met so many different creators that didn't have experience with drawing or using digital drawing programs, but had experience with 3D or didn't have experience with anything and are now phenomenal artists. You also don't really need to know 2D or 3D to get started. You could even know how to do things with scripting, or you could learn how to just work with the stuff that's already inside Lens Studio by customizing their templates they've already created or playing around with the materials and assets in their library. So there are many ways to get started, but if you're looking to create effects like I create, here are the softwares that I use. So I work with 3D modeling programs like Blender for when I'm on the desktop and I want to create a full 3D model and I want to animate it or rig it or anything like that. I use Blender basically for everything. It's free, it's easy to use, there's a lot of tutorials online. It just makes it really easy to learn stuff there and work with it. So I really recommend starting with Blender. There are many other programs out there that are wonderful. I've heard a lot about Cinema 4D, but I've never used it. And ZBrush is really cool for sculpting. I haven't gotten too into it yet, but it's been amazing anytime I've gotten the chance to play around with it. So my main tool is Blender, and it's free, so it's a really great one to start with. And if you have an iPad, you can use Nomad Sculpt to just play around with sculpting. And if you have a virtual reality headset like the Oculus Quest, you can use Gravity Sketch to actually sculpt in virtual reality by using your pen. So Gravity Sketch is an amazing program for designing fashion or architecture or even motorcycles or shoes. It's an amazing program, and you get to actually walk around your object as you create it, which makes you feel almost like Tony Stark in a way. Like, it's a really cool program. So I definitely recommend checking out that program, because it's just amazing if you have a Quest. And if you're interested in something that's more for fashion, there are programs like Marvelous Designer or Clo 3D, which is like a clothing designer studio built for clothing and fashion industry. For 2D drawing and painting, I learned Photoshop about 10 years ago, and I was mostly self-taught. I taught myself how to use it, and I learned a lot in just a couple of weeks by taking online classes. And then over the years, I've picked up a lot of different techniques just by taking more classes online and just learning as I go. Now, you definitely don't need Photoshop to get started, but if you have an iPad, I recommend using Procreate. Procreate is an amazing place for drawing your textures, especially things like makeup. If you're interested in creating any kind of face art or makeup or creating hand-drawn textures for your fashion and stuff like that, I really recommend checking it out because it's really easy to use. The pressure sensitivity of the pen is really nice, and I think that price of the iPad is not too far off from the price of a really good Wacom tablet. So I just think that the iPad is a great place to go. That's really the main software that I use for drawing. The only other program that I've recently started using is Substance Painter, and I like using Substance for designing textures that have like different depth settings or have different metallics. Using stuff like that you can't do just with your hand in Procreate or doing Photoshop the same way. Because those textures that have that depth require creating like a normal map. And what Substance Painter does is it creates that normal map as you draw in real time. So while you're drawing, you're creating this normal map. And what that normal map does is it tells where the height is. It kind of maps out the height of your image. So let's say you're doing something with glitter that would be slightly raised above your skin, or might even have a slight shadow below it, and it's going to pick up light differently. That normal map will map that out so that when you take your texture with your glitter on it and your makeup that's all kind of flat looking, and you bring it into the program, you would add that normal map. And what that normal map would do is that it would tell where the height goes, which things are raised up, where's the light going to hit it, which direction. If you're interested in getting into more complex looking textures and designing things that have a little bit more realism to it, I definitely recommend Substance Painter, but you don't need it to start. You could totally start with just Procreate or Photoshop. So those are my programs that I use. And there are a lot of resources out there that you could also play around with, like PixArt, and I'm always going to be looking for new ones. So if you even hear of any, feel free to share with me. So those are the programs that I use today. That's my main kit. So just to summarize, I use Lens Studio for creating the filters on Snapchat. For 3D modeling, I use Blender and Gravity Sketch and Nomad Sculpt. And for 2D drawing, I use Procreate and Photoshop and Substance Painter. And that's really it. So I hope this helps. And if anybody out there is a little stuck and trying to figure out how to get started, just check out some of those programs. And if they're feeling a little too complicated for you right now, go try out some 3D models that are for free online and just bring them into a program like Lens Studio and just move it around and see what it feels like. If you're looking to try to create textures, you can even take the face chart and put it into PixArt and just add some stickers to it or something. So there's a lot of great ways to get started. So I look forward to sharing more with you guys in the next videos.